Carrollton News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. Welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330, FM 106.3. And this morning, we are streaming live on the interwebs, the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. You can see video of my young guest already sat across the table from me here at the News Talk 1330 studios in Carrollton, Georgia. Her name is Tina Shockley. She is one of four candidates hoping to be next city councilman representing Ward 3. Seat that's currently held by Jim Waters. Jim was on our program earlier this week and had another candidate on Tuesday. We'll have another candidate tomorrow, but today is Tina Shockley's day. We'll introduce you to her, get her input and what her campaign is all about. So good morning.
Good morning.
And thank you for coming on the program. We do appreciate it. Well, tell us about you. Put it all on the table for us, Tina. Who are you and what's your motivation for seeking this seat?
My motivation is probably back around February. I've been approached by several people just saying, I've shown interest, but I've never really stepped out and looked into this. And they were like, you really need to look into this. You know a lot about it, because I would be discussing issues with them and stuff. And they're like, how do you know that? I said, I read, I do my research. Well, I'd never been to a council meeting. Yeah, maybe one or two, but that'd be about it over the years. So they're like, well, you really need to get into this. You know a lot about this. You could answer some of those questions that people have pertaining to some of the zoning and building and different things like that, and from a small business aspect. And I was like, I didn't realize I had that. And so they kept asking me, and actually the night before the last day you could sign up, I was getting phone calls. It's like, you really need to do this. So I actually did it.
And you and I talked a little bit before the show.
Yes.
It's semi-exciting, the fact that there are 4 people running for a seat,
Yes.
and there's 12 to 15 now running for all the municipal seats that are up for election in November.
Very exciting.
So, yeah, to see that many people interested in participating. You'd mentioned you hadn't been to a city council meeting before. Had you communicated with anybody in the city before? Have you asked questions and saw things out before? You have an example of something, a concern that you may have brought before the city before?
I know my incumbent. I've addressed things with him before. We've been friends for years. The mayor, I know. I've talked to him about things and asked a lot of questions. Fortunately, with my husband's business and my previous business, I was in City Hall a lot and asked a lot.
He's a developer, right, your husband?
Yes, and I was a builder. I owned a construction company, and I would be in City Hall and ask a lot of questions. So I learned a lot being in there. Just sitting around, too, sometimes just waiting on people and stuff. You would talk to other people in the city facility, and you would learn a lot. And so I gained that experience over the years.
Well, your work experience, then, how do you see that helping you as a city council person? Do you see that if you were a piece to the puzzle on the Carrollton City Council, where do you think your work experience would benefit council the most?
Well, I have a wide array of experience, I guess you could say, and I'm not saying it to brag. It's just I've worked as an engineer, and I understand processes and evaluating steps and making sure that we follow certain procedures, and I'm a rule keeper, I guess you could say sometimes. But then sometimes I can be a little bit out of the box too. I've worked in construction, and I understand zoning, I understand building, I understand, I can read a blueprint and you put it in front of me. Unfortunately, a lot of people can't do that. So I understand what I'm looking at. I understand budgeting, because I've had to budget. I've managed people. I've had to deal with firing people, hiring people, all types of things. So I've had some unique experiences, I guess you could say that.
Tina Shockley, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3, 835 right now. Tina is one of 4 candidates seeking the City Council Ward 3 seat here in Carrollton. Talk about your platform. We've seen these cards. I don't know if we can zoom in on these or not, Joel, if that's the right place. I probably just popped it up and blocked her on there. Sorry about that. Joel Brock, our camera guy. But, these are... you can see these cards in other places, I'm sure, around Carrollton. And it does talk about your platform. What ideas are you focusing on? Tell us a little bit about the ideas that you're going to focus on.
I want to stress and be vocal when it comes to industry, and that's because I'm from engineering, I'm from manufacturing. I did own my own business there at a time, but industry is what I call our breadwinner. And we need to get people in here who are going to stay. Yes, you get tax incentives and all types of things in here. It's not the council's job to get industry in here, but it is the council's job to present Carrollton to industry when they do come here. You've got wonderful things such as Daniel Jackson and them with the chamber and Carol Tomorrow and all of them. That's their job. But as a council, you work with them. And I know, having worked with companies that were looking to relocate in different areas, what you look for. And want to make sure we put forth our best front, your first impression. I say, what are our welcome mats at Carrollton? And we have wonderful amenities. Our quality of life is excellent, and I want to see that continue. And I want to see us get not only just industry, but you've got to look at the technology too. And what can we get in that can go along with that? You look at the workforce, Tanner employs a lot of people. Southwire employs a lot of people. The University of West Georgia employs a lot of people. And that's wonderful. And we've got all these companies out in the industrial park too. And we need to get some more of those in.
Well, Walt Hollingsworth Mayor, he was on the show last
Yes.
week, and he suggested that the industrial park is plumb full. I mean, do you
It's
see
small plots.
Do you see another property, another place in the city where a second industrial park could go?
Actually, no. That would be something more along the, I guess you could say, working at higher levels than the city council would be with that. Main thing city council would probably deal with would be the rezoning of it. And it would probably have to come out of county land, more than likely, and acquired that way. That's something we do need to look at, because if you want a big manufacturer, you got to have a big plot of land. And when you have small parcels, that's great. You can have small businesses also out there. But if you want a big company, you're going to have big land.
Mm-hmm. Growth in affordable housing is listed on there. How do you participate in ensuring the city has enough affordable housing?
We look at zoning. That's the council's job, is zoning, and we're not developers, but we can entice developers to come to Carrollton. We can have ideas of what we want to see in our city. Myself, I love housing. Apartments are not that favorable to me. I love the tax base that we get from housing. I like the stability you get from people who do own houses, and it's a family thing to be in a house. It's the American dream, is what I always say. I said probably one of the neatest things in my construction past was to watch people buy their first home. That to me was priceless, to see people achieve that dream and get their first home. And that's a feeling you'll never forget. I remember my first home I bought and the feeling I had when I got to buy it. So
within the last 3 months, council did deny a developer from coming into Carrollton and building a new development, building new houses. How would you decide? What things would you be looking for when there's a rezoning presented to you that would ultimately lead to new development? How would you weigh their presentation? What would you be looking for to decide whether you would allow that to happen or not?
Correct. Like the recent one over, I think it was off of Chandler Street.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, that one I looked at the print. I looked at that. They had a lot of green space left. That I actually drove by and looked at that place. The way it slopes and stuff, they were utilizing the land the best they could and leaving the rest of it green space. Something like that you just have to look at, and you have to measure each one of them and weigh it individually. I think as a council person, it probably is our job to drive by and look and ask questions and see. I just wanted to see for myself what, the zoning would be and how it would look in that area. And I think they made the right decision going with housing rather than the apartments that it was zoned for. And housing next to and convenient to the square is amazing. They sell so quickly when a house comes up for sale in those areas, especially the starter houses. Now, I know we have some expensive new houses in that area that are not selling, but usually the entry-level houses, I know we've had some people buy houses from my husband that were moving up, and they moved out of their houses that were downtown, and their houses would sell in less than a week. That to me was amazing.
You mentioned Chandler Street. The more I think about it, the one at Chandler Street they approved, and that was just a series of houses and small townhomes, I guess. But there was one about 2 or 3 months ago where they actually denied the developer, and that just had to do, I think, more with their concerns about the developer themselves. Our guest this morning is Tina Shockley. She is one of 4 candidates running for the Ward 3 seat on City Council here in Carrollton. Questions and comments, encourage you to post them to the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. We are streaming live up there this morning, so if you want to take a peek inside the studios from our Facebook page, feel free to do so. And again, I'll take a peek here during the break for your comments and questions, and we'll bring them up in the next segment. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System, Oak Mountain Academy, here on News Talk 1330 and FM 106.3.
At Oak Mountain Academy, our daily schedule includes convocation, prayer, and the Pledge of Allegiance. By doing so, we build a family-like community where all students grow and flourish and personal faith is encouraged. Through community service and a historical approach to biblical study, our students are taught the value of the warrior way, honesty, respect, and responsibility. Oak Mountain Academy, we are a family creating legacies. To learn more, visit oakmountain.us.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org. or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
And welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program, News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. And this morning we are streaming live on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. I'm Colin Worthington. Our guest this morning is Tina Shockley, one of 4 candidates running for the City Council Ward 3 seat here in Carrollton. Looking to our Facebook page for questions and comments this morning. I did see a young lady, we decided to self-promote her, right? Sherry Miller Johnson. She says, good-looking photo. And it turns out she took that photo. But thank you for tuning in this morning to the program. Earlier this week, I think on Monday, it was Monday, Carrollton City Council approved maintaining the millage rate.
Correct.
And what that did, it actually gave the city about $600,000 extra to collect in tax dollars.
Correct.
When you're faced with that decision on weighing the millage rate, how will you do that? What will you consider to whether to say it's okay to raise taxes or not?
Well, the millage rate has been the same, if I'm quoting correctly, 1991.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time since the city of Carrollton raised the millage rate. Mr. Triplett went over the spreadsheets and the financials really thoroughly in those meetings and answered the questions we needed when they had the open houses, I guess you could call them that, for the millage rate. And maintaining it, to me, was the sound decision to make. It keeps everybody at the same unless your house is being reevaluated or it's a new construction. And so that's where a lot of the money is going to come from on that. Other entities have raised their millage rates. Carrollton has retained theirs. We actually have the lowest. They showed a circumference around Carrollton from Rome to Columbus. We have the lowest millage rate of anybody. Actually, we're almost half of average in that area. So we are very fortunate that they do run a tight ship at the city to keep that millage rate down, and I'm very pleased to see that. When I was looking at the numbers, I knew our millage rate was good. I did not realize how good it was, and I'm very proud that they've been able to maintain that.
And did mention they were able to collect about $600,000 extra dollars.
Yes.
Where do you see? Can you see a scenario where you would be open to? Okay, you know what? Now we need to raise this a little bit on everybody. Raise the millage rate and collect.
It depends upon a lot of things. Someone asked me that previously, and I said, you anticipate and you plan for things to break down and need replacing. That would be the time when I would be looking at that. And it would have to be something pretty big, probably a sewer thing or a water plant thing, because those are huge expenses if something were to go down and happen there. They do have they have a surplus, I guess you could say, not a surplus, but a a reserve for that, just those two things. And the reason is because of the expense to replace something if something were to go down there. Things are not cheap when it comes to that. Our infrastructure is things, but again, they have a PM, which is a preventative maintenance schedule for those. They plan for those each year, and they budget for those each year. Now, if we had a exorbitant cost height in maybe a material or something that came to our infrastructure, replacing the sewer and the water and lines in areas, if you have petroleum goes up, then your PVC pipe goes up. Mm-hmm. So things like that affect other things, and that could make our costs go up and make us not meet our budget. Then that would be about a time that I would look at that.
Tina Shockley, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Discussion over the last year about the beautification project on Bankhead Highway. That's popped up in a lot of conversations. Some people are excited. I mean, a lot of people are excited just to see something new. And, the city the people who presented this, my idea is that they expect and hope that will eventually look kind of like the square. It'll be set up like that, same kind of walking area. But there is concerns about where the money's coming to pay for that, and some businesses are concerned that they'll be affected as far as traffic. Where do you stand on that project?
I like beautification. I just had a lot of questions about the current one. Yes, they've passed one. It's going to be implemented. How can we address things as they're going through there? Maybe try to save some more money as we're going and implementing the existing plan that they have. What concerns me most, again, being a small business owner formerly, I worry about the small businesses along that area if they were to lose traffic that goes in there. We have enough empty space in that area. We don't need any more businesses to go out and have empty space there. You have a lot of these little strip malls, little buildings that have businesses in there. Some of those are mom and pop little businesses, and you don't want to see them lose out because of traffic. Now, again, the studies that they did say that it's not going to affect them. So, I've read over some of the information. I haven't read all of it, but you just got to look at that. My other question was, who's going to maintain the plants, the grass? If you drive down that area, are they mowing? Are they weed eating? Are they maintaining their signs as now? What makes you think they're going to do it when we give them this money and we make this improvement? But again, you do need beautification, but we have many corridors to Carrollton, not just 61 in on Bankhead. 16 up from Noonan, you have the roundabout that has the pleasant, says Carrollton, kind of nice, and then you drive past the jail, but then you come on down. But 27 and coming north and south has nothing. And 27 is a shortcut between 20 and 85, if you think about it. It's a shortcut. 85 is what we call the Hyundai-Kia corridor, and 20 is the Honda corridor. There's so much manufacturing on those two interstates. We are the perfect location to entice suppliers to that type of industry here. And, they're going to be coming down 27.
When you talk about the small businesses possibly being affected by that Bankhead Highway, if those businesses were somehow able to prove that they were affected negatively, in 3 or 4 years or something like that happened, should the city consider a way to help them out?
That I wouldn't know. We'd probably have to talk to the city attorney about that one. I would have no say on that one. I think, working with them, they've been very informed. I mean, I know a lot of the committee members who put this package together, and you hate to be against it because the hard work that they put into it. And I really do like the look of it, but I'm implementation type of person, and I'm like, okay, here's the issues, that haven't been addressed. Then you look at the Maple Street next phase, and I like the way the college looks in front. And they're wanting to kind of continue that down to 27. And to me, that's the entrance to the University of West Georgia. Can we get them to help us a little bit with that, possibly? Because that's their main entrance off of 27 is Maple Street. And, again, that would look great beautified. And would they maintain it? Would they mow the yards? Would they take care of the signage? There's a lot of ifs in that. And again, if they don't maintain it, then we have city codes that have been, issuing. I think they recently hired a new codes person, and I think Walt said, or someone said in the past couple of months, they've issued a lot of citations just on the simple stuff. But the simple stuff helps the beautification of our city. Excess banners all over businesses, run down. Not maintaining the exterior, not mowing the I don't want to say yard, because most businesses don't have a yard, but they have greenery around there and they just don't maintain it.
Tina Shockley, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program, one of 4 candidates seeking the City Council Ward-3 seat here in Carrollton. We'll take our final break, come back with about 7.5 minutes. Community Voice brought to you by Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.
At Tanner, we're advancing health throughout West Georgia and East Alabama because we know that exceptional care isn't based on how many patients we serve, but how well we serve them. That's why we're focused on quality, delivering the best possible care for our patients. It's why we're expanding our clinical services and building new facilities to serve our growing community. And it's why we're looking beyond our hospitals and medical practices to develop sustainable wellness and preventive health programs in our region. What makes a hospital great has changed. It's not how many beds we have. It's how well we care for the neighbors who need them. Delivering the right care to every patient, every time, is how Tanner is advancing health with medicine beyond measure. Learn more at tanner.org. or find a physician on our medical staff by calling 770-214-CARE.
Oak Mountain Academy has offered a challenging college preparatory education for over 50 years. With over 500 graduates, we have maintained a 100% college acceptance rate. Over 90% of our students earn acceptance to their first choice of college or university, and over the past 5 years, our students have earned over $10 million in scholarship offers. Our students are creating a legacy. Come, be a part of our family and create your own legacy today. To learn more, visit us at oakmountain.us.
8:52. Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. And this morning we are streaming live on the News Talk 1330 WLBB Facebook page. If you did miss any of this morning's program, the video will be posted on our Facebook page for eternity. You can also visit our website at newstalk1330.com for the podcast of our program this morning with our guest, Tina Shockley, one of 4 candidates running for City Council, Ward 3 for the City of Carrollton. Going back to your brochure, your card that you're handing out, I guess it's available to
Correct.
residents. Perhaps you're mailing that out. You're a proven leader is the first thing it says. You mind telling us that background and what makes you a proven leader?
My background as far as a leadership ability, I've been very active in the community over the years and in volunteering and trying to address needs. Everything from before I had children, I was in the Junior Women's Club, and we saw a need at that time when we all started having children at the same time to do car seat inspections. And that was one of the things we worked with the local first responders here years ago, and this dates my age, when Walmart was where TJ Maxx was. And we would set up a tent and have car seat inspections there for parents. And we would see a need and we would jump in there and do things. Yes, that's a promotion for Carrollton Junior Women's Club, yes. I did volunteerism at the school, from being on the PTVO board to just being the soccer mom. I've coached at the rec. I've actually coached 3 sports over the years, and 8 seasons with both my children. So I would always see a need and jump in and try to lead. I'm the one who my friends go to organize things. Sometimes that's the joke that I organize too much. But that in my personal life, I've always been able to do. I've applied that in my work life, from being, manager level to leading teams to just working well with everybody I have in my companies that I work for. And then, of course, I as I say, I helped my nose and jumped in and started my own business. and I ran it for about 10 years until the economy forced me out of it, and I tried to hang on to that business through 2 years of the bad economy, and finally had to shut that down. And that was really hard because, you know, owning your own business, you take pride in it, and you do the best you can, but some things are out of your control, and that's one of the things I think I have a real desire to keep an eye on our small businesses, because I've owned one, been there. I know the hardships you go through. I know all the paperwork you got to do, and I want to see them survive.
8:55, about 4 minutes left in our program with Tina Shockley. You did mention earlier that you had conversations with Jim Waters, who's the current city council person, I guess, discussing issues. How much time would you expect, and are you able to invest in a city council person, that job, daily and throughout the week? How much time are you willing to give? Is that
Well, you know, you meet monthly, and that shouldn't be the only thing you do. You're going to have an agenda, and like, you know, I left a city council meeting, and some of the topics they had the next day, you know, when I was running my errands or, you know, running here and there, I just kind of drove by the areas of topic, checked them out, and followed through with them. You're going to have to do things like that. It's not just show up once a month to make a vote. You're going to have to do your background work and pay attention. Otherwise, you're going to be making, you know, judgment calls on things you have no information on. You know, they can give you all the spreadsheets and the data, and you can look at it. You can look at the plots and the layouts and things like that on zoning, but it doesn't hurt to go do your research and drive around and talk to the people around there. If you see some people, you know, in the middle of the day, you might not go up and knock on a door and get someone, but at least go research what we're voting on.
The hot topic of conversation over the last 2 years, and probably more, even the last decade, is pay for firefighters and police officers. And everybody does talk about that. They say we need to do better pay for on the county level and on the city level. How do we accomplish that? How do you get them better pay, and how do you decide what that pay level should be? That
is a hot topic. To the point that I've even reached out to my friends in other areas, even out of state, because I know, like, one of my friends, her husband's a sheriff, and I reached out to him and said, what do you do, you know, to retain people? And they do, you know, he went into some of the stuff. I've reached out to some friends I used to know in Kentucky that are in these type of positions. I said, what are you doing to retain? It's everywhere. Everybody has this issue paying them, not just our city and our county. How to solve that, I don't know. There's ways to address it, and that's things that we need to make sure we keep on the front burner. In the industry that I come from, you do have a high turnover. When you have a booming economy or a good economy, you lose people very easily because there's so many jobs out there for them to go to. How do you entice them to stay? Because you spend a lot of your time interviewing people, recruiting people to fill these positions. Then when you fill them, you've got to train them. And then that cost. And then, you know, you train them for, 6 months to a year, and you lose them to a higher paying job. That is a negative when it comes to your manpower cost, because you just lost money. And as a city, we lose money when we lose employees. You know, not only do we lose a friend or a coworker, we actually, when you look at your budgets and stuff, you've lost money because you've invested time and money in that person. How to solve that? There's other ways and other incentives. And with multi-generations that we have, one generation likes one thing and the other generation likes another. You've got the ones who are closer to retirement and things like that. They want that retirement and the health care benefits and stuff like that. You got the ones straight in coming into work, they want free time and more vacation, and there's different things you got to weigh, and that's an HR specialty.
Tina, we have 1 minute left. Do you have a website, campaign
Correct.
website, and a campaign Facebook page?
Yes, I actually have my telephone number on there, and I have an email, which is tinashockley2019@gmail.com. And you can find me on Facebook at Vote Tina Shockley City Council 3. And I would love to hear from people. We've been handing out our flyers and posting our signs and trying to get the message out that, a vote for Tina is a vote for change. And I'm hoping I can be that change and earn your vote.
Tina Shockley, our guest on this morning's Community Voice program. Thank you for coming by. Good to meet you. Good to talk to you. And we appreciate you checking in this morning as well. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30, with more Community Voice here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3.